Let's take a look at ARCHIdigm's custom doors for AutoCAD architecture. To begin with, I'll just add a default wall. Now to access these custom doors, I'll go to the content browser and look for the doors catalog. And for this example, I'd like to show how a residential exterior door works. I'll go to the wood category, and I'll go ahead and pick one with some glass in it. Before I drop it in, there is an inside and outside to this door now that is reflected in the hardware attached to it and also the trim. So before I place it, I'll zoom in. You can see one side has a very rectangular default profile and the other one has more of a wedge shape. The wedge shape has been used to indicate interior for all of our doors and windows. So I'll go ahead and place it, assuming the top here of the drawing is inside, and hit enter. If I pick the door, right click and go to Edit Door Style, over on the Display Properties tab, highlighted, you can see it's using the plan display representation for the medium detail configuration that I'm looking at right now. If I go to plan, I'll see these four different blocks. They're different from what you would see in the default door object. And these blocks represent the inside and outside trim that I just showed. There are two blocks, right and left, for inside and two for the outside. If, for example, I didn't want to have the inside profile showing up in this particular medium detail plan view, I can turn them off, hit OK, and they will disappear. I'll do an undo to bring them back. All right. Now if I go into the 3D view, we'll see that there's the full surround of trim. If I select the door now and go to Edit Door Style, we'll be under a different display representation. For this one is now Model. If I go back, you'll see there's a lot more blocks. All of these are custom blocks, right? So before I get into these, let's go take a look at creating a custom profile for some trim. So I'll go back to Plan View. I'm just going to type in Plan. Down in the lower left here, I created two example profile shapes that I would like to show you how to use. One is fluted, and the other shape here is for a potential architrave. So the fluted detail is a profile shape here. It's just a closed polyline, so you could draw anything. If I type in member shape, this is where structural member shapes are stored. And you can see just in a drawing with nothing else, what was brought in was this openings trim, a keystone profile, and curvy, which is our default name for the interior profile shape. If I double click on any of these, I will see a preview screen with the insertion base point. That's the reason I'm bringing this up. Notice that the insertion base point is in the upper right corner for this and for the curvy one. Upper right corner is the important thing to remember. I'm going to go back to where it says structural member shape definitions, and I'll create a new one called, how about fluted? And while I'm at it, let me create one called architrave. All right. For fluted, I'm going to go up, double click, and I'll just start with low. And remember, it's this upper right. Boom, there. I'll do the medium. The reason it asks you for these three is that you can actually use different shapes. So for low, for example, you could just have a clean rectangle for less detail in your presentation. Now I'll do the architrave, upper right corner. Okay, great. So let's go back over to the door. So this is the outside. We've got a left and a right. Those are controlled by members, structural members, and the way to access structural member styles is member style. All right. Now, because the drawing is very simple and clean, it's very easy to see this. You may have a drawing with 100 different structural components in it, and you'll just have to look for, they're all clustered together under openings. So I'm going to focus on the outside. So let's see here. We have trim top, trim side, outside. We'll go to design rules, and we'll change the default trim shape, which is that rectangle, to the one called fluted. And while I'm in here, let's do the top outside and change that to ARCHIdigm. All right, and then hit OK or apply and OK. If I regen REA, I'll see that in the plan view, there's my fluted profile. I don't see the ARCHIdigm because I haven't gone into 3D. So I'm going to go ahead and go into a 3D view, and for clarity, I'll shade this. All right, so here's a bit of an oddity. It's showing the ARCHIdigm just across the top, but not the corners, and that's because the default trim was designed to use the same profile. Probably, arguably, the most common door trim is just the same shape going all the way around, but in this case, let's do something a little more detail-oriented, like an ARCHIdigm. So I have to make some changes to the way that this is presented. I don't want those corners. Pick the door, right-click, edit door style. So now we can see it's highlighted here in model, but I'll probably need to repeat this for elevation and model high detail if I want them all to show the same modifications. We'll start with model. Okay, so here's a list of all the blocks. What I'm looking for are the corners on the outside. So I have corner out and corner out right. I don't want those. Okay. What I do want are the ones that are called corner out straight and corner out straight right. Turn those on. Okay. I will also do it for elevation. And for good practice, I should also do it for the high detail. All right. And okay. All right. So that's almost done. This uses a different block for the right and for the left that was designed to run straight and then curve back into the wall. The only thing is I would like the ARCHIdigm to run farther out, left and right, and that gets a little tricky because you have to actually work on the block itself. So here's a quick trick for accessing those blocks without having to look for them with the insert command. I'm going to copy the door over, take this copy and wall anchor release it. I'm going to move it out. Now I'm going to explode it twice, once and twice. That will give me access to all of those trim blocks. So each one here is now accessible. I'm going to pick on this block, right click, edit in place, OK. And then because there's this little piece that I want to keep intact, which is the return corner and the main piece, I find it's easier to move that than to try to use the grips for stretching. So I'm going to move this over, let's say 2 inches. Now I'll use a grip stretch just on the single straight piece back 2 inches. And I'll go ahead and save changes. All right, and then I need to repeat the edit in place on the other side. Once again, I'm going to move this over 2 inches and use the grip stretch on that structural member 2 inches back. Save changes. Okay. Now I can get rid of all this stuff. I don't need any of this. That was just to make it easier to get to those blocks. Of course, you can go to the insert command and you can look for those corner pieces, but look how many there are, and it might eat up some time. That's why I use that other approach. But if I now go here and then regen, if we take a look at this at the front, there we go. You can see that it has those 2 inches. Now if I go to plan view, and let's take a look at what this looks like, in a very commonly needed result of this work would be a 2D projected front elevation. So I'm just going to use any of these default callouts in AutoCAD architecture. We have our own custom ones that do superior output. They've been tailored to our objects, so the line weight is, has more flexibility and kind of cleans up a little bit better. But just in case you're not using ours, just with the default ones, let's just pick this front elevation. I'll go ahead here, and I'll say current drawing. All right, and I'll just place that. Now I'll put the front elevation here. All right. So this is what the front elevation will look like. Let's also do the back side so you can see that. And current drawing. And I'll place it over here. All right. So the last thing I want to talk about is the corners. The way any two objects merge but are physically separate in AutoCAD architecture, when you're creating these projected elevations, is controlled by the material assigned to them. And it's not 100%. It has never been 100%. I've fought with this for many, many years, and I'm very happy when it works. I'm quite unhappy when it doesn't. When I go to this corner, you can see it is showing that 45-degree line. At best, it should show no line at all. This should just merge together. You can see above here, it's all clean the way it should be. The tool or the setting that you can tinker with to make something like that occur is in the material itself. If I type in material, define, you'll see that in our products, we actually name the material that is set to merge, okay? So that you know that that's what it's been set for. So if I go ahead and click on this, and then I go for general medium detail, that is the only display representation you need to worry about when doing projected elevations and sections. It's always by default in the product using this. Right? I go to the other tab, and you'll see right here is the merge common materials. And that tries to clean it up whenever you have two separate objects but with the same material. This is how it tries to clean it up. Works sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. If I go to member style, and we take the inside, let's take inside here, and I change the material to one that's not merged, just white, you will see what that's going to look like. And I'll just refresh. Right, so this is unmerged, and that's where it shows all of the, it shows the separate, same material but separate components. They're not, it doesn't try to merge them together. So that's just something to know. And the success, you can see here, there's some weird, this has been the case for years. This is, the stop is in here, and it just sort of made it disappear. Sometimes you can refresh again. It changes. If I go back to member style and I go to the the inside, change that back to merge. I have no idea if this will do any difference. I'll do a refresh. Yeah, so it's still, it cleans this up better, but it still sort of has issues here. This is something we have to live with in the product. But this is the overview of ARCHIdigm's custom doors for AutoCAD architecture.